Cool, we're rolling. So welcome to a new case study. This is Philip from Comics and Chris from Comics, and we are sitting here with Maike Girstmair from Vienna, Austria, CEO and founder from weffect. weffect is a software as a service platform that helps strategy departments to engage their employees and get all the information through. If I remember correctly, you guys are about 10 people right now, just started the journey with comics, and we're quite excited to hear about your journey. So welcome, Michael. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Hello. Thank you very much for joining.
Cool, perfect. Chris, you want to go ahead?
Thanks, Michael, for joining. Let's start with the first question. Before you started with comics, how did you manage lead generation and sales? So how did you get to new clients before working with us?
Yeah, so my former life was more or less a consulting life. So the life of a consulting company. So I built up different companies. And coming out of this routine, everything was based on recommendation. So it took quite a long time, let's say too long, till we understood that we have to manage that differently. And yeah, so it was everything built on recommendations. So you can't compare it with what we are doing today.
Yeah. What have you tried out? Have you tried out some different lead gen methodologies, like cold calling before yourself or going to fairs before starting with comics?
Yeah, we explored different things. You know, we made events, we did cold calling, we bought addresses and things like that. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Could you share with us some of whether some frustrations or any frustrations you encountered with working with those? With cold calling or going to fairs?
Yes, a lot of frustrations. It was a nightmare. Yeah, not just frustration. It was a nightmare because we had, you know, this is a learning process, of course, in developing our business model. Everything has to be focused on scalability. And the big thing is to build up a sales channel, a sales funnel, which is scalable as well. And this is exactly where we are in right now with your help, to build up a scalable sales funnel.
Yeah.
Right now we are waiting for big amounts of money of investors. So getting these, we definitely will scale exactly what we are doing right now.
Yeah, great. When you summarize it, what would you say, how important is it to have the control over your sales funnel and build a scalable sales funnel? What would you recommend to others? How important is that?
I would say it's everything. Yeah. It makes the difference if you get it done or not. It's a little bit shaming myself, you know, because thinking back, talking about the scalable business model, but not having a scalable sales funnel is just nonsense. Nothing more, nothing less. And so it's the game changer itself. And I really believe that what you're offering is very, very important and is closing an interesting, important missing link, which is, I have to do it now. Yeah. There's no way behind.
Yeah.
Getting the replies, you have to respond, otherwise you're just stupid. And if you don't have this automatism, you definitely have a lot of excuses not being in sales. It's so easy.
Yeah, yeah. Let's start from the beginning also. Like what sparked your interest in comics in the beginning, and what was the decisions why you went with comics?
Yeah, it was how we got in contact with you, and we were announced by the Ministry of Economic Affairs as one of the startups to get in touch with their offices in different countries. So we were happy about that, and we decided to go for it with Switzerland, Germany, and UK. And it was the Swiss office of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs which contacted us, asking us if we are interested to figure out something new for them. And this was exactly you. So they told us about comics, and that they would be interested to set up a deal with us and you. And then we started our first trial, let's call it like this, and it was about 800 addresses. And the response was interesting, so I got aware of it, interested in it, in contact with you myself. So that was the story.
What can you share what were some of the outcomes of the trial with the Chamber of Commerce of Austria in that?
Yeah, the outcome was the first time this experience to get an ongoing process in getting replies. So this was the biggest experience for me.
Yeah.
And this was an interesting outcome because it changed everything, how we looked at it, or how we look at it now, in differentiation to how we looked at it in former times. And the outcome in concrete was, I have forgotten the percentages of conversions, but it was amazing for us. You know, suddenly I had 30 leads out of this 800 addresses.
Yeah.
And the interesting point is not just getting leads, but the experience, if somebody is replying, even if it's a negative reply,
yeah,
he had an association, you know, somewhere in his head, he had an association. And this is the really big thing for me. And this is what I recommend to everybody, to get into touch with it. Yeah.
When you said in the beginning, you did cold calling before, you went to fairs before. When you compare let's say, also if you don't have exact conversion rates, but if you compare approximate conversion rates, cold calling, fairs, and comics, how would you compare it also with the time you invested in getting the results?
Again, I cannot tell about figures and numbers.
Yeah.
But the biggest difference is that it is the constant process. Getting replies constantly, not just on a point. You know, you are part of a fair, trade fair. Of course, you are doing some contacts and new relationships, but it's, yeah, some of that, you know, and the day after the event, everything is as it was before. And this is the big difference. And you have to find the words in selling yourself, but the big thing is that really every day are coming in replies from people who have association with your service. It's that easy.
Yeah.
And this means this is in the right moment for them. This has a content-based association as well, a situation of the company situation as well, and things like that, you know. So it's just different.
Yeah. Next part is more to the experience with comics and working with our customer success together. When starting with us, could you describe the collaboration? Like, how did the onboarding go? How did it go to perform the first necessary steps also in the onboarding directly with us?
It's nice as well. Let me call it like this.
Yeah.
Because I don't like to talk that much. And this is my impression that you are quite similar to this. So it's not a lot of meetings, a lot of words. No, this is not necessary, but I always got the feeling that I can call you up, one of you, if I need something, and that's fine.
Yeah, it's very important for us that we don't want to spend unnecessary meetings. So just approximately how many resources did you need to set up comics? Do you have an approximate idea? That doesn't have to be numbers, just like approximate.
In hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't be more than an estimation, but I would say it took, if I think about it, think back, it was something like 5-6 hours.
Great, perfect.
This is how it felt.
Great, perfect. What would you think was the area where you perceived the most value in the onboarding? Was there something where you said that was especially important, something you've learned in the onboarding also?
Yeah, it was the most important or the most valuable thing was that it is standardized, you know, not starting from scratch. As I remember, you offered us a standard formula where we could write in our first ideas of getting in touch on email texts and things like that. And I think this is great because it gives you an idea, an impression what is necessary and what not. In trust in you, that you have experiences on that. So it was yeah, it was optimized and yeah, it was nice.
Let's get next parts into Philip. You would take over on the next parts on the results.
Yeah. So what we see a lot is how there is somehow not only a difference in just leads or maybe sales, but also some sort of transformation going on also in the way of thinking. And I was wondering, how would you describe the results with comics in terms of being after? How does your day-to-day look, for example, now versus before? What changed?
The first time in my life, my day has a structure now. Yeah, I wake up with replies and I go to bed with replies.
You mentioned like the predictability is normally quite important, especially when you're raising funding, right? Mm-hmm. And how would you compare, for example, the fundraising process from before with no real channel, no real funnel in place, and now with comics? What changed there, for example, for you as a founder as well, for the business?
Yeah, it's hard not to repeat myself, but again, it's just more concrete. It's more reliable. Mm. You know, I think it's the inner cern of build up trust, that you build up something which is built on figures and on conversion rates. And this was exactly what we missed before, that we had the mass of contacts, yeah, of impressions, to use it to get an interesting segment of outcome of replies, so interest, we can build on. This is, as I mentioned in another call we had already together, it would be nice to have you guys also for the next conversion steps.
Yeah.
But this is what we have to figure out our own right now. This is, yeah, where we are learning every day.
Yeah.
So my honest impression is that funnel step 1 and 2, which is supported by you, this is more or less done. You know, it's a question of, yeah, tuning a little bit, but not more. And this is great because this is the fundament.
Yeah,
we can build on now.
Got it. I think we can also tackle this more, but we're actually working on more and more stuff to support you guys in the end of the funnel as well, when it comes to deal flow, pitching, proposal management. So let's definitely keep in touch about that, because there's something in the runnings.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, what's always striking to us, and of course it's an important question, because we've been founders ourselves. We know your situation well. We know how it is when you are a small company. You may be investing your own money, and it is an investment to go that step and to say like, okay, now let's go. We're going with comics, and especially for small companies, right? We get that question all the time. And what we always wonder is like, so what would be the alternatives, and how big would have an investment been? You know, if you wouldn't use comics, but would have to create similar results yourself, or like, how did you go about that decision for your investment?
Yeah. If you are aware of the importance of sales, the amount of investment into comics is not that big. This is my personal impression about it. I don't know the alternatives. The alternative would be to have a guy which is doing it every day. You have to pay. You have him on the payroll, which definitely would be a similar amount or even a higher one. So I don't know. I don't have more to say about that. So it's not a big amount.
That's well enough. I mean, that's always what we say, because what we believe is like figuring those steps out already, like the step-by-step guide. How much of your time would have been gone into that, right? Or your co-founders or your partners. And that's something.
From my point of view, it's not a question of time. It's a question of inefficiency.
Right.
You know? You can spend a lot of time with the feeling that it is senseful, but the outcome, if there's no outcome, you will not reach for long with it. And this is exactly the point. It's this continuously process, this continuing process, which is now settled up. And this is the big advantage.
Right. Cool. Okay. So based on those experiences, how likely, like if you take a business in your situation, maybe freshly funded, coming from consulting, moving into software as a service space, right? Dealing with scalable business models, how likely would you recommend us to those businesses, and in what stage should they act?
You mean at what stage they should collaborate with you?
Yeah. Also, when would you recommend us? Like, at what stage would you recommend to get in touch with comics?
Yeah, I think without having a concrete product or a sharpened whatever you want to sell, I think having this is the right stage to get in touch with you.
Right.
So from the first moment on, and this is of course an iterative process, because it's much more, yeah, we increased also sharpening our product in getting in touch with more people, you know, getting feedback from more people, get an impression what they understand, what they don't understand, and how they do understand it. And so I think the right moment is the first stage of having an idea what you want to sell.
Right. Got it. And then what we are always also like rambling about is, and that's back to the question, how important is even the sales pipeline, right? And we're always wondering ourselves, and also sometimes get the question, why should I assess my sales pipeline right now, or at least take a look or know what I'm into? Like, what would you say? Why is that important?
Why it is important? It's the inner cern of any business model that you figure out how to sell. And I think what could be I really thought about you guys and thought about what could be your challenge in selling yourself. And because otherwise you wouldn't have the need to talk with me now, yeah, if it would be that easy. So I think that the big problem is that companies, and I did a lot of consultancy in my life, that companies are not aware of the differentiation between really sales and how to say, staying in touch with people who are buying already.
Yeah.
So client service, in a way. This is a big thing. And looking back to my life, I would say that companies really betray themselves about this topic. It's not usual that companies have a real awareness about what sales mean. And so this could be a problem for you in selling you. The companies think that they do sales already, even if they don't.
Right. Yeah,
even if they don't sell to people who are not already in contact to the company. So this is exactly what I think that you bring into the game, that important new contact to people who don't know you.
Right.
Yeah.
Building up interest exactly in this segment.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
But thanks so much for the insight. We appreciate it a lot. I don't know if you have any more questions.
No, I think that was really great. Yeah.
And thanks so much for taking the time, Michael. Super cool to see your journey. We're excited to carry on with you further.
Yeah.
And we see you really soon.
Yeah, see you soon, Michael. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Tschüss.